Mishnah 18, the last Mishnah of the first chapter. The Mishnah had told us, in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, that the world endures on three things. The world endures on, just let's place here a second, on din, emes, and shalom, on justice, truth, and peace. And we talked a little bit about the idea of, obviously, could be referring to society, the world itself. We need to have a system of justice in the world. However, there's a little understanding again of each of these things, a little more depth. One of the interesting things is we'll start with the middle with MS. So MS is truth, and yesterday we mentioned that God, it represents truth, and we say Hashem's seal is truth. There's a phrase the Talmud talks about, and if we go into the Torah and we look at the very beginning of the Torah, in the beginning of the first words of the Torah, the beginning of the story of creation is Bereshis bara Elokim. That right, God, in the beginning, God created, and the last letters of each of those first three words are a taf, an aleph, and a mem. And those aleph, mem, and taf spells emet. If we go to the end of the story of creation, where after it's all finished and says Asher bara Elokim la'asot, that God had created to do, again, the last three words, bara Elokim and la'asot, end with an aleph, a mem, and a taf. So the beginning three words end with the spelling the word emet, and the last three words end with spelling the word emet. So the whole creation was in truth. Another interesting thing about the word truth, we highlight, if you could see this, these three letters, aleph, mem, and taf. You will notice that the bottom of all of these letters of emet are flat, and they can stand. So emet is something that can stand because they all have a base for the letters. The word for falsehood is sheker. Sheker, I don't have the word here, but the word sheker is spelled shin, kuf, and resh. Now a shin, which is here, this is not the way it's written in the Torah. Here it's a flatter bottom, but actually in the Torah it comes to a point. When you write the script for a Torah, a shin cannot stand. It has a pointy bottom, has no basis. A kuf over here, it's got that long leg, can't stand on its own. And the same thing with a resh. You see over here, a resh also has just one leg on the bottom, doesn't stand. So sheker, falsehood, cannot stand. It doesn't have any lasting thing. Just an interesting way of looking at the idea of MS and sheker. Rabbi Chorsky points out also that laws, which is, we talk about din, laws have to be based on truth. And even with all the laws we have, we still have people who do things that they shouldn't be doing. We still have crime. But the law itself has to be based on truth. And you say when it comes to justice, and a lawyer is representing a client. So if you know your client is guilty, what do you do? So we could say, yes, you can defend that person and get them off, but you cannot say that that person is innocent. A person, if you know that the client is guilty, you cannot have them plead innocent. You can get them off on a technicality, but by saying that they're innocent, that's a lack of truth. So law has to be based on unalterable principle. It has to be based on this is the way it is. We don't change the principle. We can, based on circumstances, obviously sometimes there's going to be a different law, but the principle itself has to be eternal. And otherwise, you cannot assure that there's going to be peace in society. So we have this idea that truth is based on law, and law is based on unchangeable values. And in order to have peace, we need both. We need the justice and we need the truth, because if you make peace with corrupt people, then likely something's gonna happen that's going to be corrupt as well. It's not gonna work. We see also how much Hashem values the concept of peace amongst people, because we see that when people are at peace with each other, Hashem will overlook many things. The famous example is the Tower of Babel, the Tower of Babel, where the people were rebelling against God, yet he dispersed them, he did not wipe them out. It was only by the flood where they were wiped out. And we've seen by the second temple, which was destroyed because of sinas chinam, where people weren't getting along. So in the time of the Tower of Babel, people getting along very well. They were rebelling against God. So God did not destroy them. In the second temple, the bit was destroyed. People were studying Torah and doing lots of good things, but they weren't getting along. And that, therefore, the temple couldn't stand. And in the case of the flood, we also find that the final straw of the flood was the fact that people were stealing from each other. And again, you didn't have a proper system of justice that was able to be maintained. So you can't have a society which doesn't maintain those things. Another idea that's brought down is that in the end, the Mishnah sort of puts it together and says we have these three things. And we can look at it, the Mishnah is issuing three different warnings in a sense that when it comes to justice, so we're talking to the judges. The judges obviously have to be able to uphold justice, and therefore they have to be able to do a fair judgment. They can't use their own biases, and they can't bring any bias to a case. Truth is the witnesses. The people who are going to be testifying have to make sure that everything that they're saying is true. And we know, certainly in a Jewish court, I mean, it works in another court as well, but in a Jewish court, two witnesses are needed to establish the truth of something, and everything is based on that. If we have two witnesses who say whatever it is happened, and we can't prove that they're lying, then we're going to take that as fact, and we're going to judge accordingly. And therefore, witnesses who telling the truth is everything is based on that. And finally, peace. That's which the litigants. Two people are having a disagreement. I say whatever it is. I say the money's mine. You say the money's yours. We're having an argument, and I think how terrible you are, what you did to me. So after the judgment is issued, we now have a verdict. So then we have to get along with each other. The fight is over, and now we are obligated to conduct ourselves just as with everybody else. We are obligated to get along peacefully, and therefore, even the litigants are obligated to go under this banner of peace. And if people are able to do that, then we're able to have a harmonious society. Uh, Another idea, which is also using the three, which we said this Mishnah corresponds to an earlier Mishnah which talked about Torah, Avoda, and Gemilas Chasodim, that the world stood on three things. So Avoda could correspond to justice, that everyone, when a judge is judging correctly, so that judge, in a sense, is a partner with God in creation. They are maintaining the world by maintaining peace in the world and maintaining justice. Torah corresponds to emet, that it's truth. Torah is truth, and person's going to become a better person through observing and studying Torah. Person is a better person by being a truthful person. And finally, chesed corresponds to shalom, that shalom is peace. When we do chesed, when we do kindness for others, we increase peace in the world, and therefore it corresponds. And so we have these three categories of truth, justice, and peace, which are going to allow the world to endure. They're not the things that cause the world to be created, but they are the things that enable the world to continue to exist and to be able to have a society that is able to be sustained.